all of that collateral information is so critical, and we can pull out 3 or 4 things from that. You're an anonymous person when you parachute into Salt Lake City, right? When you decided on
Right.
Salt Lake. So
Right.
fast forward, you've said, I'm going to evaluate these other places. LA was in the mix for a minute and a half. The other ones you took a little bit of a deeper dive on, and now you've decided that it's Salt Lake, and now your research really does begin on the actual purchase. And I think it's important to distinguish that you've made an excellent point that it's not just you, it's the circle that you run in, your circle of influence, the people that you influence, the people who are looking at you in a certain way. And one of the things that you're about to tell me, which kind of shocked me, because I put your generation in a different bucket. It's how you found the actual real estate professional that was going to represent you.
Yep.
So how did you started on the internet?
Yes. So as you can see from the data that's out there, most people start their buying experience online. I think it was like, I saw a stat, 90% or something like that, right?
Big number.
It doesn't matter what age group you are, what demographic you are, you're going to start your research online. So naturally, I go to the second largest search engine in the world, which is YouTube. And I say, hey, moving from California to Salt Lake City. And sure enough, there are some very, very enterprising agents out there who understand SEO. They put great content out there, walking me through all the neighborhoods of Salt Lake City. They put up content there. If you're thinking about moving from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City, here are some of the things you should consider. So those are like really smart SEO things some of these agents did. So I would say I spent about 2 weeks consuming their content, looking at it. And Diane, I will tell you, and actually before I even jump into this, Diane, I never considered trying to do it by myself by like going through a Zillow or like doing one of those kind of like not being represented. I didn't even want to bother with that. Going into a purchase transaction in a market like this, right? So I was like, I need an agent, number one, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there that millennials don't typically want to work, or these younger buyers may not want to work with the traditional kind of service providers. I think in this kind of market, how do you win without an agent? I mean, and I'll get to the actual transaction part, but I just want to point that out in the beginning, right? So as I was going through watching all these YouTube videos, I was talking to one of my clients who lives in Salt Lake City. And sure enough, he said, hey, my neighbor is a realtor. He has a brokerage. He's got a team around him. He knows the market really well. Do you want to talk to him? I'm never going to say no to my client when he's going to make a referral to me. It's rude, right? It's just rude. Of course, I'm going to talk to him. He's your neighbor. He's your friend. Of course I'm going to speak to him. So even if I already had my mind set, you know what I mean, on I want to do this YouTube guy, I was going to take that meeting, right? So I took the meeting. We had our normal, the first consultation, and I got a lot of confidence from him because he was very realistic with me. He's like, Andrew, you're coming from a market where, look, you probably have a big budget in that market, but don't expect to come to this market and just be able to get anything you want like right away, because it's a pretty hot market here too, right? And so as I talked to him more and built this relationship with him, right, a face-to-face or Zoom-to-Zoom discussion with him, there's a psychological thing that happens where you're like, man, this guy Kim's referred from someone that I know and trust, that I have a relationship with. We've set up an appointment and now we're talking. And it just feels I felt, even as someone who's a digital native, it felt weird for me to reach out directly to someone on YouTube that I didn't know, that didn't have a referral. And quite frankly, he wasn't talking a lot about the team that he had and how he would service his customers, right? So there's a lot of what I call awareness content to get me to find out about that agent. But there was not enough what I call decision stage content, which is like, oh, now that I found out about you, why do I need to go with you? What ended up happening was because I had a referral within a relationship with the person who referred me, it just was a much more powerful kind of way to sync up with this guy and eventually choose him as our agent. And eventually it was his brokerage and his team that we worked with. Um, but even for me as a digital native, I was surprised because I was talking to my wife about it. She's like, wait, you're not going to call the YouTube guy? Like, that's your thing. I was like, no, I really like Terry. And, Jeff had introduced me to Terry, and, Terry's been living in Salt Lake for the last 20 years. And I just got, I like Terry. I liked him, so let's go with him. And my wife was like, okay, let's do it. But I myself was surprised that I didn't end up going. And I felt a little bit of like digital marketer's remorse by not going with the YouTube guy. But ultimately in the end, the agent that I worked with, just an amazing resource. It was actually a tough transaction. We put in a couple of offers, didn't win.
I can't imagine it being anything but right now. So I want to unpack a little bit of this because you gave us 3 really key phrases. The third one is hysterical. Okay, so as you were talking, I was thinking, okay, so YouTube was a great vehicle to educate you about the market. And you called that awareness content.
Yes.
So critically important for you as you were learning. But then you transitioned into needing what's called decision stage content. And that became almost impossible to find on YouTube.
It's hard for the algorithm is going to serve you what the algorithm is going to serve you, right? And the problem is that he has calls to actions in his videos that say, hey, if you're moving from another state and you just want to talk to me, here's my phone number, right? But for some reason, like that is not enough for me to pick up the phone. I needed to watch a video. It was almost like that initial buyer's consultation. He needed to have almost a video of a mock buyer's consultation that it would have done. And that video might have existed there, Diane, but I didn't find
SEO, you didn't find it.
I didn't find it, or he didn't point me to that video as another video down the funnel.
Yeah, this is as I've said to you before, you are worth your weight in gold at $2,000 an ounce. That is, and I've done that math on how much that would be. Anyway, so that's really outstanding. I love how conscious you were and are through this process. As you said, digital marketers remorse, which is really, that was the funny one I'm going to remember and poke you later on. So, okay. So you made the decision to take your friend or your client's referral, which really underscores the importance of how flat the world is now. And I think that piece right there, if we're speaking just to real estate professionals, right now, it's know thy counterparts. Okay.
Yeah.
Because someone along the way is going, it's not transactional anymore. It's relationship driven, and someone has to give that really great. That was probably one of the better referrals I've heard of how the person explained. He explained what you needed by explaining this person.
Correct. That's correct. Yes.
And so kudos to your client for really understanding how to make an appropriate referral. Lots of people don't know how to do that. And I do think in this world, you can train people to do that. You can teach, you can help people be a great referral source for you.